I saw how the Ukrainian ladies already knew you and they loved you. And I'm sure they're eternally grateful for all that you've done for their country. So, how long were you in Ukraine?
Yeah, so I was there for about 2 years, and normally your service ends in like 2 years and 3 months ish before that's the official end of your service, but you can extend. So for me, I wanted to extend my service. I was going to go up to a city in the north called Kharkiv and do more collegiate level work. I was doing some collegiate level work in Vinnytsia, but I was kind of ready to move up into that sphere, and it was a bigger city, and there were a little bit more of a need in that area. Fortunately, I did get evacuated due to COVID, and it was a hustle and bustle getting back to the US. Stuck in the capital for 4 days, had to say goodbye to my community and my friends overnight in 24 hours. It was a really, really rough time, which I know a lot of Peace Corps volunteers actually dealt with. And it was definitely felt like life shattering, because you're like having these flashbacks of like, oh, I'm going to work one morning, and the next it's like I have nothing lined up. I'm not going to grad school. The cycle doesn't work right now. And I'm going home and I'm fully unemployed in the middle of a pandemic. And so it's not easy, but there's also 7,000 other volunteers that are dealing with the exact same thing as you around the world. So there's something connecting about that. And as with most people that had their lives turned upside down in COVID, a reasonable situation. But after that, the federal government was hiring. They basically put out this notice that said, there's 7,000 volunteers, please hire them. And that's how I found ICITAP, and the rest is history.
Wow. Yeah. I can imagine, you're fully entrenched, right, with the life in Ukraine, helping all these people, and then get on a plane and you're coming back to sitting at home wearing a mask. Were you able to connect with the other Peace Corps officers? You talked about connections. So were you able to reach out to them and kind of, talk to each other about what you guys were going through and probably missing your job in Ukraine?
Oh, definitely, all the time. I think I'm like the biggest advocate for the organization. So a lot of them do live in DC now and have various international development jobs. So we're all still a big community, especially after the invasion happened. The community really came together to provide all the assistance, and it's really important, because you hear of international organizations where you can donate and do this and that, but when you know direct people that you can impact, there's so much more you can do. I remember like working in Peace Corps, working with a grant of $2,000, and I was like, wow, this is so much money. I can do so much with this. It's like a 5-month program. And so coming from that lens, you know how far your money and your influence and your responsibility can go to people, because it's not about the money that makes change. It's about what you decide to do with what you're given. So
Mhm.
it's really nice to still stay connected with all those folks.
Absolutely, I bet. So you mentioned, of course, life kind of forced you into the path of EasyTap. I think things happen for a reason sometimes, right? So here you go and get picked up by EasyTap. Can you talk to us about your journey?
Yeah, sure. I want to say it's almost 4 years now, but I originally was placed in the Western Hemisphere region. It was kind of like a surprise for me, because I didn't know what region I was going to be a part of or what work exactly I was going to do.